Welcome, everyone. We have another minute to go, but our pleasure. I hope for those of you who've stayed with us, and I've seen some of you stay with us for pretty much the entire duration of the day and have attended all the panels. And I cannot, I don't want to thank you. I want to appreciate your effort in understanding various career opportunities and progression opportunities, but also just your propensity to learn. So I really appreciate that. And with that, I also want to welcome our wonderful students and Nupur. So the next panel is something that's, I think it's probably the panel that's closest to my heart, because we can talk all we want about careers and about opportunities, and that's important. But without the student perspective, it's not really quite comprehensive. So this conversation, career dialogues, when we conceptualized it, we were very clear that we not only wanted to hear from industry and academia, but we absolutely wanted to hear from students on what their career journey has been so far. So first, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Nupur. Nupur and I work together in the outreach team. Hi, Nupur. Good evening.
Hi, thanks, Bhakti. This was fantastic. I think the day went really well.
Yes.
It was so overwhelming in terms of, I think what I really enjoyed the most was the Q&A parts after every session. And there were some fantastic questions that came in. So yeah, and I'm really looking forward to this one and waiting very, very eagerly for the Q&A for this particular panel discussion.
Absolutely. I think the Q&A sections are pretty much, I actually often wonder why a panel discussion is not more Q&A and less discussions, but we can talk about that separately. But I think I'm going to quickly go ahead. Great. Now we have all our panelists here. Pranesh has joined us as well. So we have a wonderful students from Kriya who've joined us. And, we're really, really proud of every single student that studies at Kriya. And I don't want to be the one doing the talking about, introducing them, etc. So I'm going to go around the room and just request all of you to just introduce yourselves and state your city, where are you currently, and what is your major, and what year you're in. Yeah, we can start with you, Pranesh. Go ahead.
Hi, welcome to the evening. And myself, Pranesh, I'm from Kerala and I'm currently in campus. And I'm doing economics major. With no particular minor, I'm exploring all the courses here.
Pranesh, are you the only one on campus right now amongst the entire panel?
Yes, ma'am.
I bet everyone's really jealous of you. All right. Akshat, go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I'm Akshat. I'm a second-year student at Kriya, obviously, and I'm majoring in economics with a minor in psychology. I'm from La Martiniere for Boys, Kolkata. I look forward to interacting with you all.
We're going to have a lot of questions for you because the number of questions we've received on the combination of economics and psychology is more than any other question we've seen through the day. So it's literally the flavor of the day. So we're going to talk to you a lot about that choice. Gopika, why don't you go next?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gopika and I'm from Chennai. I'm doing a major in biological sciences with a minor in psychology, and I'm very excited to be a part of this panel today.
Great. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you also state the schools that you studied in? I think you give a lot of context to our attending students, to know what schools you're from. So, Gopika?
So I did my IGCSE and A-levels in a school called Manthan Vidyashram in Chennai.
Yeah. Akshat, where are you from?
I'm from La Martiniere for Boys, Kolkata.
Yeah. Pranesh, go ahead.
I did my school in government MNKM HSS State Engineering School, Kerala.
Awesome. Yes, Satvika, over to you.
So I'm a second-year student at Kriya. I am pursuing my major in psychology and my minor in literature. I did my schooling until grade 10 at Arya Vidya Mandir, Bandra East in Mumbai, which is where I live. And in Mumbai, after 10th, we have to enroll in junior college. So my junior college was HR college, where I studied commerce till grade 12.
We have a lot of folks from Bombay here, so I'm sure they're very familiar with AVM and HR. And Juhu is very popular for its vada pav. So, all right, Smriti, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to have you all here. I'm Smriti. I'm a second-year student at KIA, and I'm doing a joint major in economics and environmental studies. I currently reside in Visakhapatnam, but I did my high school in Navy Children's School, New Delhi. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I just want to go around the room and ask the million-dollar question. Why liberal arts and sciences? Why liberal education? So feel free to jump right in. Whoever wants to go first.
Right. May I take this?
Yeah, sure.
So I think I belong to a school which had an ISC board, and with no sort of offensive remarks to the board in itself, I think it made me very restrictive in the manner in which I studied or I learned in terms of rote memorization, in terms of the materials I was exposed to. So I think at the end of my class 12, or actually even before the end of my class 12, I knew that I wanted to adopt a more holistic manner of education. And that did lead me to applying to a number of universities, domestic as well as in Singapore and the United Kingdom. I did manage to get into some of the good schools or the well-reputed schools, such as Singapore Management University, Warwick, etc., which are really, really well known for their economics program. But I think a couple of factors sort of made me choose KRIA over the others. The first factor was the fact that I would be involved in the institution building process of a new university. So while a lot of people around me sort of gave that a negative connotation, my family and I firmly believed in the philosophy of KRIA, what they stand for, as well as we looked at it more in terms of an opportunity than a drawback. Secondly, and I think this was actually the most crucial factor, was the interwoven learning aspect of the KRIA curriculum, and the fact that we would be exposed to the interplay of all these subjects happening simultaneously. So by that, what I'm trying to say is, at a college like an SMU or at a Warwick, the education would be world-renowned, but it'd be looking at economics from a single lens. At KRIA, what they do is they look at economics from multiple different lenses. And I think that was the reason as to why I've chosen to be a part of this university.
Adding on to what Akshat also mentioned, I was very clear in high school that I wanted to go to DU and get a degree, BA economics degree, the conventional one, go through the conventional process. But I had no like idea that there's something like in liberal arts university out there, and it was just like a recommendation from like my father's colleague, and I applied to only one liberal arts university, and that was only KRIA. And I think why I chose KRIA or explored liberal arts was, I think, the emotions. For me, to understand what a pedagogy of liberal arts was when I actually went for the immersions and spent a whole day with the faculty members. It was a very comprehensive way of understanding how the science and the arts are very intermingled in every aspect. Initially, I wouldn't have thought of it. I would have thought like, science is science and arts is arts. But like, there's so many interwoven aspects. Sorry to use the I word so much, but it's so comprehensive that, I felt like I don't want to go to a college where, I'm going to end up buried in my books and, learn everything by heart and just give like how I gave my CBSE board exams. I wanted to learn. I actually wanted to explore. I wanted to actually dig deep and actually push myself beyond my comfort zone. And I think the immersion actually pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I was 100% sure right after the immersions that, I wanted a liberal arts education and I wanted it in KRIA. So I think that was why I kind of chose KRIA.
That's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of students that we interact with, their single point feedback about the immersion is that it's bordering on life-changing in terms of perspective. And also on another note, I think the fact that you use the I word so much, I think KRIA should copyright the I word. Yes, moving on. Gopika, would you like to go next?
I think for me, I knew what I didn't want to do while I was in school, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do bio as a major, but I didn't want to do engineering or become like a NEET or anything like that. I think like I got introduced to the concept of liberal arts at the perfect time, where and with Kriya's immersion, I knew this is where I wanted to be as well, because when I spoke to the faculty about the bio curriculum at Kriya, I knew that apart from pursuing a major in biology, I would still be able to explore other subjects and topics. And that was something I was really keen on because I'm a person who gets bored very easily and I didn't want to do bio the whole time. I still wanted the opportunity to explore other topics and subjects and courses. So I think that's why I chose liberal arts at Kriya.
Yeah, great. Go ahead, Satvika. Okay, go ahead, Pranesh. Yeah, you already unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think adding on to Akshat, Smriti, and Gopika, one thing I think Interwoven is working. It was not just the day of immersion, right? From that day till this moment, I'm studying Kriya. It has been an Interwoven experience that I'm going through, and maybe what the conventional curriculum we will say is 1+1 = 2, but when we come into the real world, it's not the case, right? When we see a problem, we have to look at it in various dimensions. Let's say COVID, you have to it has a psychological, economical, and social dimension for it, and a lot of other dimensions too. But as an economist, if I want to become it, it is not enough for me to just know economics, right? I have to explore all other courses to become a better economist and understand the world in a more better and comprehensive way. I think interness is aspects that makes the world more beautiful for us and and able to solve and come up with innovative ideas. I think Kriya for me is like, I think that decision which I made, I think is very worth because I am able to see a world which I haven't seen before.
I think you made a very important point, Pranesh, about economics, for example, right? Because all through the day, especially in the economics panel, we've been talking about the interplay of economics with other subjects. And I'm sorry, I just can't wait. I just can't help but weigh in because, for example, the interplay of economics with psychology is behavioral economics, right? And there's so much more to it. But yeah, we'll talk about that because the next round is talking about your choice of majors and how it interplays with the other combinations. But Satvika, over to you.
So after my 10th, I chose commerce, not because I knew or I had made up my mind that I wanted to do commerce, but actually it was quite the opposite. I was unclear at that point about what I wanted to pursue. And my family comes from a finance background, so I thought maybe, it's in my blood, let me just explore this. But while doing commerce, I realized that this is really not something that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing. And I started reading and I started picking up different things, and I realized that I had a very strong inclination towards psychology. And what drew me to a liberal arts education and towards Kriya in particular was the taste that Kriya allows you to have of different disciplines and different subjects, even in your first year itself. So even in your very first year, you're not expected to come in with a clear choice. I had decided by then that I wanted to do psychology, but just the fact that you're exposed to a range of disciplines, like it ranges from maths, you're exposed to literature, you're exposed to things like learning how to write and design thinking, ethics, subjects that just make you think, that open your mind up. And Kriya aids you in making an informed decision, which was not something that I really had the privilege to be able to make earlier on. So if anything, it allowed me to explore all these other subjects, make a more informed decision as to, okay, this is why I want to pursue this as my major, understand myself and my decisions better, and also then understand what would go better with my minor as a minor major combination. So if you're not very sure about what you want to do, or even if you're sure but you want to just explore and have look at different disciplines in your first year and along with doing your major, a liberal arts education and one at Kriya is definitely the one for you.
So Satvika, I'm going to start the next round with you because you talked about making an informed decision. And as we were discussing yesterday when we had our pre-panel call, I called you not much of a risk taker because you actually made a very informed decision about what major and minor you wanted to do. Tell us a little bit about, because we've got questions through the day on how do students decide at Kriya, or in general, what majors they want to do. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience and that process?
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, I knew I wanted to do psychology as a major because I was fascinated by the human mind. I found myself doing a lot of reading, taking up some online courses, trying to get my hands on whatever knowledge I could about psychology and the human mind. So I knew that I wanted to understand that on a deeper level. But when you come to a university that allows you to also study something else along with your major, and there are these different courses and all of them look so interesting, it then poses the question as to what minor you want to select, or what other subjects you want to explore along with your major. And for me, I wanted to do something that interested me as my minor, but also something that would complement my psychology major. So I was confused between whether I should take economics, because I had some background in economics because I had done commerce, as well as there's the whole interplay between commerce and between economics and psychology in terms of behavioral economics and a lot of that whole field, or whether I should do literature, because I personally love reading and writing. And literature also has its own beautiful benefits in the field of psychology as well, because what it does is it offers you a chance to step into the world of the writer and the reader, to step into the book that you're reading and build these necessary skills of empathy or understanding the worldview from someone else's perspective, which is something that's very important in the field of psychology. So in order to make my decision, what I was able to do and what everyone at Kriya is able to do is that while choosing your courses for a particular trimester, you have 2 weeks where you can just pick up whatever courses you think you're interested in and actually sit in those classes of these other courses. And I therefore sat in a few economics classes as well as literature classes. And after those 2 weeks, I was able to understand that for me personally, literature seemed to be a better fit. And it was what I seemed to find gelling better with my own interest and with psychology personally. So I was able to then select a minor in literature. So Kriya will enable you to make your choice. It will support you and it will guide you and allow you to explore in these ways.
Great. I think we can all go home because Satvika has pretty much summed up everything. But Satvika, that was a phenomenal response. Really well structured thought. I think you put it very succinctly. It really was very easy to understand that. And I threw the floor open because the question is to all of you: why did you choose the majors and the minor combinations that you did? Because this is what the conversation is about, really. Why did you choose it, and what do you intend to do with it from a career or a career progression perspective? Yeah, go ahead, Smriti.
Yeah, sorry. I think I chose, as I mentioned, I was already very clear I wanted to do economics. And I think the joint major, like the very concept of joint major, was very fascinating to me in the fourth trimester. And I actually wanted to give it a try because environmental studies is something that's not, very conventional. Like other universities just teach it as like probably a course, but not as a, as a degree. And what I realized is that a lot of like the world revolves around economics, but we tend to forget the environmental side of things. And I felt that the interplay between both economics and environmental studies, that intersection between the two, is very important to understand. And the joint major actually opens my eyes, at least, and for a couple of my classmates also, how economics and environmental studies actually works in this world. And I felt that it's very, very important that in a current day, it's both the environmental aspect and the economic aspect are very important to understand. They have to be very balanced. So I think that's why I chose the joint major particularly, because I wanted to look at the environmental side of things and how the economics also affects the environmental side of things. So that's why my career path or my master's later on, like in a few years, I plan on doing a master's in environmental management, which is basically looking at an intersection of business and economics in the world of environmental studies. So I felt that, looking at a career option that plays with different fields is very important, because environmental studies, or the whole concept of environment, is not just geography or chemistry. It involves a lot of disciplines, and I think studying that in Kriya with the whole concept of interwoven learning, it's actually a very beautiful way of learning the whole the joint major.
Right. Akshat, I think there was a question on chat for you. And why don't you go ahead and answer it publicly, why did you choose the major and the combinations that you chose?
Sure. So thank you for that question, whoever sent it in. And I think I walked into Kriya thinking that I would major in economics with a minor in business studies. I predominantly come from a background where there's a family business, so there was just that understanding. I didn't really know why I wanted to study these two subjects. It was only after my first year where I was exposed to subjects like design thinking, like computer science, that I actually realized that I enjoy coding in Python. And so for predominantly the first semester of my second year, I thought I would major in economics with a minor in computer science. It's only after that first semester that I realized that my true passion wasn't in computer science, but was in psychology. And so now I completely sort of wet the entire liberal arts and sciences approach, because through my own experience, I see how exposure to these different sort of subjects help you understand why you want to study what you want to study, and also what you're losing out on if you don't know what everything else is to offer, right? So currently, as of now, I see myself either working in the sport industry and doing a master's in sport management, or at least for this summer, I see myself working in consultancy with consumer behavior. So those are the two sort of paths for me so far. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, I think that was quite clear. Go ahead, Gopika, Pranesh, tell us about the majors. I think, very quickly for Pranesh, you do not have a choice of minor yet. That's a curious path. Tell us.
Yeah, first of all, I'm doing economics major. So one of the reasons I'm doing economics major is also because of Kriya, because over the first year, I was part of a lot of volunteering activities where we did a lot of in Read India, Rotary Club of Madras, Raise a Child, and a lot of other organizations we were working in the nearby village. So I thought maybe poverty eradication or working for policy is one of the areas I should look at in my future, like contributing to larger to the society. That's what I felt I should be doing. And I think economics, I was very passionate about economics, but also the other thing about minors, right? Like I thought the faculties at Kriya are awesome in all courses, right? Like in history, we have great faculty, politics, social studies, business studies. So I thought maybe one perspective won't be able, like if let's say COVID is not an economic problem, but it has economic implications for it. So similarly, I thought maybe studying all the fields, like some part of it will help me. And I think I'm going by the interest of which courses are interesting for me. And I think that is a freedom that I get in liberal arts. I'm able to see, I have taken a course for behavioral economics, which is a linkage of psychology and economics. I did an marketing course, which I am seeing economics and marketing playing together. So I am pursuing the interlinkages with every course rather than just doing a minor. So I think that's a great opportunity we get to explore in liberal arts.
Interesting. Gopika, so you have a bio major and a psych minor. And usually what we see in liberal education is it's the other way around. I mean, popular choice is a psych major, maybe a bio minor. So what gives? What's the crux of this decision?
I think for me, predominantly, most of my interests were in the different fields of bio. So I took that as my major. And I was taking a chemistry minor, a psychology minor. But seeing how there were many chemistry courses in the bio major, I knew I would rather try something new. So I took a psychology minor because I've never done psychology before this. So it has been an interesting journey.
Yeah. So I think many of you, when you were mentioning about your minor and major, where Pranesh said that he's still exploring and he hasn't taken a minor yet, And Satvika very clearly mentioned that she took classes around literature and psychology to understand that what minor she wants to go ahead and pursue. I think it would be interesting to know that there is a perception around students and parents that liberal arts is easy in comparison to the other degrees and pathways. The academic pressure and overall what you do is lighter than the other subjects that students pick up or the degrees that they pick up. Would you like to talk about your typical day at Kriya, so that our audience gets a sense of how easy or how light or how heavy your day is overall? Any one of you, if maybe Satvika, if you would like to go first.
I think Akshat's unmuted himself very passionately because I know he has a very strong view on this. Go ahead, Akshat.
No, I think I'd make a bold statement by saying that it's the polar opposite of being like a light curriculum. It's an extremely rigorous university, and the smiles of my fellow peers sort of, justify that. I'd say we are on a trimester basis, which essentially means that after every 6 weeks you have an examination. So you have a midterm and then a final every semester into 3 semesters. Now, coming to the fun part of this question and a day in the life of a Kriya student, I'd like to take you through what my day would be like on campus. We all miss campus life, and I'll take you through that. So we'd ideally wake up at about 8:30, just about make it in time for breakfast, grab something on the go, reach your first class, which is a 9 a.m. that all of us really hate. Like we really judge going to the 9 a.m. class. 9 to 10:30 is your first module. Ideally, you get a break of about 15 minutes in between that, and we go to like grab a coffee. Then you have another class from about 11 o'clock to 12:30, after which you sort of head for your lunch. So lunch hours are from 12:30 to 2:30, if I'm not wrong. And then on a good day, you have just 2 classes, but on a bad day, you have another class after lunch. So you head back to the academic hall and you do another course from like 3 to 4:30. Um, Personally, if I don't have another class that day, I try and like go back to my room, get some sleep, get a couple of hours of rest, and then move on to like the sports fields, which are absolutely buzzing. You'll have the cricket pitches right up to like the badminton courts that are bustling with activity. It's crowded. There are matches going on. There are practice sessions going on. Meanwhile, even in the other side of things, at the amphitheater, the clubs are very active. So you'll have the dance club putting on performances and practicing Western, Eastern both. And then after a couple of hours of relaxing or sort of switching off, you have to get back to your works because at the end of the day, it is an academic university. And like I said before, it's extremely rigorous. So you have to keep up with your readings. You have to finish your assignments. So you probably resort to the library where you get a couple of peaceful hours before your dinner. And then after dinner, it's again let open for a lot of activities. So on a good day at Kriya, on average, you would have about 3 or 4 activities to choose from post dinner. You'd either have an open mic session, a karaoke night, or there'd probably be a football game, or one of the sports teams would be playing, and the entire university sort of goes and cheers them. So yeah, that was my encapsulation of what a day at Kriya is like.
Gopika, you would like to go and talk about how your experience is?
Yeah, so I think depending on which class you're in, like the number of classes per day varies. So it can be either 1 to 3. So along with your so once classes end, oh, my friends and I go for like a walk around the perimeter or something because during sunset is a very beautiful time. And then we are obviously loaded with assignments. I would never say that the academic work is light, but one nice thing is that if you feel overwhelmed, you can obviously reach out to your professors and they obviously help you out. So I think a day at Kriya would mostly be us waking up very late, some of us missing classes, and then getting work done, usually in our room, sometimes in the library, and then hanging out with our friends, maybe doing some activities here and there, and then back to work. And with online, I think the only change is that you can't hang out with your friends. And classes go on as per usual, either 1 to 3 classes per day, and you're occupied with either club meetings or the online club activities. You would be right now like the social outreach club is helping with the whole COVID-8 situation. So there are multiple things that keep you occupied throughout the day, and professors will offer you other opportunities outside class, such as work study and such. So along with procrastinating here and there, you will have like enough time to get your stuff done. I wouldn't say the academic pressure is too much. I feel like it's the right amount as of now.
And Pranesh, you would like to go ahead and talk about, you are at campus, though Akshat and Gopika uh, are joining the classes online. I'm sure you are also, but you being at the campus, if you would like to go ahead and talk a little about how your day looks like.
Yeah, for me, I think the campus is one of the beautiful places to ever be. It has a 40 acre campus which has lot of like the campus is very diverse, starting from snakes to the we have fishes, ducks in the water. So and like I think as Gopika said, he walk and after some time of playing. And we have students how where we go play pool, like carrom board and chill and all of these things. And I think online just made a difference that we used to go to a class, we go to academic block to attend the classes for online, for no offline class, but currently we are attending the classes in our rooms. But other than that, there is no much difference between me attending the classes 1 year before and now. And even but other thing that happens is most of the events have been shifted online. Now we have a Kriya Shark Tank event which is which is conducted by Innovation Entrepreneurship Club. As Akshat mentioned, maybe not more club activities are happening, but the campus is always active. Even though we have just 30 students right now in campus, we always have some of the other games, sports played in campus.
Yeah, I think while you were all of you talking about the online classes and of course the other activities that you are indulged in, I think one of the hallmarks of liberal education is its disciplinary approach, and it's evident in the minors and the majors that you have picked up. But what about the skills? I'm sure there's a lot of skill building. It's an equally integral part of liberal arts and sciences. Would you like to share with us how, other than your core subject curriculum, the additional skills that you are learning and how you think will they help you in your ultimate career goals that you have for yourself? So, Satvika, Priti, any one of you, if you can just go ahead and talk a little more about the skills that you are learning.
So Kriya gives you an opportunity to, through your core subjects as well, but also through a lot of the other opportunities as being a part of the student community or as being a part of a community who creates the foundational structures of the university as well. So Kriya is very hands-on with its students when it comes to governance, when it comes to clubs, building the structure and building the structure of the university as a whole. So for me personally, in my first year, I was able to be a part of a six student team called the Constituent Assembly, which worked on writing the constitution for the university. And that was an excellent experience for me because it taught me so much. We were doing a lot of readings about how these documents are made, looking at a lot of different stakeholders of the university, ranging from of course the students as well as everyone else that would be involved in a constitution that would be made for our batch and for the batches to come. So there was that as an experience. Additionally, last year I was the club representative for the social outreach club, and that allowed me to lead and come up with and work with all the members of the club and students of the university to look at several initiatives in mental health, which I am very passionate about. And it encourages qualities such as leadership, communication, problem solving, critical thinking, looking at what is needed right now and being able to jump in on that and provide a solution. So these are some of the things that come from the extracurriculars. But from the core courses itself and the courses that you're taught at Kriya, there's a lot to learn. For example, one of our courses that was something that I benefited so tremendously from was the first course ever that we had in the first trimester, which was the writing and oral communication course. And every single academic paper that we write till date follows a structure that we learned in the WOC course. And this was not something that I had learned in my education prior to that. How that a particular font is to be used, a particular structure is to be followed, that your essay should have a certain flow to them. So these are skills that don't just help you with your curriculum at Kriya, but they've helped me become a better writer as a whole and bring about more clarity in the way that I convey my thoughts. In addition to that, this trimester, we have been studying a course called Introduction to Qualitative Approaches in Psychology. And what this course is doing is it's allowing us to actually come up with a small research project of our own in psychology. And psychology is very heavily focused on research, particularly here at Kriya. So already we're getting the ability to dive into research, even in just our second year as an undergraduate student. And with the help of this, the learnings from this course, I was able to put together a research proposal and send it out to the George Institute of Global Health, which was an opportunity that was introduced to us by the Career Service Office here at Kriya. And my proposal actually got selected by the George Institute to be mentored by one of their researchers, which is one of the projects that I'll be working on this summer. So there are a lot of opportunities that Kriya brings you, both in terms of the skills that you can use, as well as the opportunities that they give you to apply to various things, such as internships and scholarships. If I could just add on about a scholarship as well. So this year, Kriya was offering scholarships with different universities, and one of them was King's College London. And I was able to secure a fully funded scholarship from Kriya in a program called Psychology, the Mind and Body, which is very relevant to my major and my curriculum and to my interests as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. One last thing is the peer support program at Kriya, and I feel like I really should mention this, because what the peer support program is it's a program where student volunteers are trained professionally by the Schizophrenia Research Foundation, SCARF, and they are trained in order to be able to provide a safe space with basic skills such as empathy, listening, active listening, and things like that, so that any other students who want to approach us to talk about anything that's on their mind, be it academic stress or anything like that, they can come and speak to us. We're not a replacement for professional psychological help, but we do provide a safe space for students to share things with us, ensuring confidentiality and things like that. So not only is this a skill for us as students to learn, but it's also allowing us to engage with the community in a way that helps both us as well as them. So yeah, I think those are a few of the things that I had to say about Kriya. Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to come in here and say that you made a wonderful point about the last thing that you said about SCARF and being trained not to be replacements for mental health professionals, but I think just making sure that students on campus feel like it's a safe space, and that sense of safe space comes from your peers more than anything else, because we hear enough about bullying on campuses and of really terrible experiences that a lot of students have, especially new students, freshers. So I think I just want to leave this thought with all the attendees that skill building is not just about research, and it's not just about internships. It's also about building an emotional quotient. It's about empathy. It's about compassion, collaboration, communication. And I would really like to hear from some of the other students, if maybe one of you could come in and talk a little bit about the role of the Center of Writing in Pedagogy and the kind of impact that it's had on your writing skills, because we are one of the few universities in the country that actually has a Center for Writing in Pedagogy that trains students in writing. So if one of you could come in and talk about your experience and how it has shaped you.
Yeah, I can. Go ahead. So I read my plus two in a government school, and when I came to Kriya, I was kind of scared about how I would go about writing and oral communication. I think Center for Writing and Pedagogy was very helpful for me to. I had a tutor, person tutor who sat with me and who explained to me word by word, who gone through my assignment and said this is how you should put it, and it was really helpful for me. Not just it was not just like something where he just teaches me. it was kind of like a friendship or a bond we developed. And yeah, I was able to reach out to him whenever I wanted to, and not just for that one faculty, but it was all the faculties at Kriya were very helpful in that case, and especially the writing and Center for Writing and Pedagogy. Not for just the first trimester, but in the first and second trimester, they were very helpful. And for the in the second trimester, there was also a work study where, as part of Center for Writing and Pedagogy, the second years were tutoring for the first year students who are very good at English. So basically, I think this is very helpful for someone to get off. Like we all have, some people have problems with mathematics and all of this. I think the faculty at Kriya is very helpful in getting us out of this comfort zones and also helping us to like build our skills.
Yeah. Akshat, I think you would also like to go ahead and add. I think you were, along with Satvika, you were also part of the forming the student government at Kriya, right?
No, so I actually wasn't part of the Constituent Assembly, but Smriti and I, actually both of us headed the sports wing of the university, and we're continuing to occupy that position currently. So I think that in itself was quite a learning. I was fortunate to hold a couple of leadership positions in school, but it seemed a lot more on the lines of, hand holding from my housemaster or from my cricket coach. But here at Kriya, they completely left us to ourselves. They asked us to start from scratch. So it was almost like there was a clean sheet and we would have to build a sports structure on top of that. So I think through that, there were a lot of learnings also in terms of how we allocated our resources, because even budgeting was something that we had to sort of take care of. So there would be situations where, say, the girls football team would come up to us and ask us for jerseys, and we would probably have to prioritize them over, say, our volleyball team that needed to go outside and they needed funds to, go for a game somewhere. So I think those small instances helped us sort of find ourselves through those instances, understand ourselves better. It also taught us, I think, the values of empathy, which is extremely, extremely important in the world we're living in now. One point that I'd want to bring up and sort of add to what Pranesh spoke about in terms of the amount of help that the writing lab offered. I came from an IST school and I happened to do fairly well in terms of my scores in English. But it was only until the first semester when Dr. Akhila taught me the writing and oral communication class that I actually understood where I stood in terms of my writing abilities. And it was quite debilitating to my confidence at an overall level, because I always thought that I was somebody who speaks very well, who writes very well. And I think if it hadn't been for my professors and especially Dr. Prayag Akbar and the amount of time that he took out for me and helped me improve, I wouldn't probably be else. So I think allows us to get like individual attention, and I don't think that there are too many universities globally that allow you to do office hours with somebody who has their own Netflix original. So that in itself is pretty cool, I feel. And yeah, I think
Akshat, your connection is a little unstable, your internet connection. So you might want to sort of join us back because we can't hear you very well. Yeah. Go ahead, say something. Akshat, can you hear us?
hello now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Right, sorry for that.
Okay, go ahead.
But I think another thing that I'd want to talk about is that everything that we learn is actually sort of implementable or practical in the real world. And we talk about, bridging the gap between the world out there and what you learn within the four walls of a classroom. I think Kriya does that perfectly. And an example that I can cite is the compulsory internships that every student at Kriya does at the end of each academic year. So at the end of the first year, you're allowed to choose between a research internship as well as a social internship. And the second year, you move on to also doing a commercial internship with one of the MNCs. So as a part of my first year, I did 2 internships from Kriya. One was in the sport industry. Our career services office, Mrs. Kala Anand, actually put me in touch with somebody from California and we worked together. I did market research for him in India for a new product, a sports sensor that he was launching in the country. So I think these opportunities are extremely fascinating. And if it hadn't been for Kriya, I don't think my networking would be good enough, or anybody I know who would be able to get me such opportunities.
Also, if I can just add on really quickly, Kriya kind of offers so many, like, very personalized internships also, like in various fields, and caters to very individual interests, very niche interests that students also have. And earlier, if I was looking for an internship on my own, I wouldn't have probably found an internship on very specific, like sustainability and climate change. And Kriya offering me that opportunity actually helps me a lot, because that's it's guiding me in my career path towards sustainability and climate change studies. And just to add on, we have so many life skills workshop, and I feel that, apart from the soft skills that you learn, like, leadership, communication skills, a lot of life skills is also being inculcated. Like we had a workshop on first aid. And I feel like all this is like very necessary in like a very general, skill level, on very general level. And I feel that we are, by just getting these opportunities to learn first aid, or, be part of different workshops of think tanks, being part of, I was personally part of the Columbia Global Thought Initiative. So when the pandemic initially hit, students from all over the world came together and actually spoke about what the pandemic did to us, in both the positive sides and the negative, because it's easy to talk about the negatives of what the pandemic, but it's very difficult to talk about the positives. And I feel that actually having this sort of cross-cultural, global sort of talks kind of helps, because it makes you understand that, you're not the only one. You are engaging with people globally, and you empathize with them at a very different level. And it's not that, what you are facing and you are the only one who's going through the hardship. There are people who are going through more tougher situations. The countries, the pandemic in their country is like worse than what India at that point of time. So, empathizing with them, just listening to them kind of helped. And all these workshops are really good way of engaging and understanding the life skills and inculcating them in your life. So I feel that Kriya has done a really good job in inculcating life skills directly or indirectly through workshops.
Thanks, Prati. I think all of you have really weighed in very comprehensively on this. And before we go on to the next question, I'm just going to sort of shake things up a little bit here, because there's some very interesting questions coming in on the chat, and I don't want to sort of wait till the end to take all of them. But there's one question which is asking, does Kriya have, it's asking about the literature studies at Kriya, and do we have a book club? So I think with that, a lot of kids want to know about clubs at Kriya. So if one of you could just specifically talk about clubs and whether we have a book club at Kriya.
We
Go ahead, Pradeep.
Yeah, go ahead, Sat.
No, it's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, so I was part of the extracurricular committee where we were working with various clubs at Kriya. So I think one of the greatest things about Kriya is that you have that autonomous facility for clubs. So clubs can bring in the idea, and faculties will be also part of the clubs just to help them initiate and ideate about the process. And we come up with our policies. As Advika mentioned, we had a student government which was created by the student body. The whole process was assigned by the student body. So the clubs at Kriya have a system where they have their policies, and for any help they can, for funds and everything, they can approach the administration. And like the university faculties are also super diverse. They're not just super skilled in academics, but also they have a various diverse thing and all the extracurricular activities. So they mentor us, they help us, and we also have coaches for each clubs. Regarding the books club, we have a literary arts club, which is which looks at books, and also we have a very diverse library. And there are a lot of positions at Kriya. One of the positions is library work study committee. And here, students work for the library initiative. They try to pitch in the ideas for more books. And so the other idea here is most of the things here are democratic. The people are elected by the students, starting from the student government to the clubs.
Great. Yeah, go ahead, Satvika.
Yeah, if I could just add on to Pranesh's answer, I am a part of the Literary Arts Club. It's called Synecdoche, and there is a book club that takes place within the Literary Arts Club itself. So we have regular readings of books that happens within the Literary Arts Club, and you're free to take part in that activity or not. It's up to you, because there's also a lot of curriculum work that happens. So the clubs and extracurricular committees at CREA are pretty flexible. You can be a part of a club, but it doesn't mean you have to take part in every single activity. It depends on you and your availability. Additionally, the Constitution also makes a provision for you to create your own clubs. So if you are really interested in something and you don't see that club at CREA, we have a lot of clubs. But in case you don't, come join us and create your own club, and we'll all be a part of it. So,
there's one club that we don't have at CREA. So I was talking to Akshay Jain, who was the director of Student Life, and I asked him, do you have a baking and a cooking club? And he said no. So I said, well, that's the first club that I would start if I was a student at CREA. I would start a baking club. So that's one club that you don't have that you should start. With that, I'd like to go into, I don't want to talk so much about internships, because I mean, I was going to get to that, but I think a lot of you have spoken about your experiences. If somebody does want to weigh in and talk about an internship experience, go ahead before we go on to the next question. I think Satvika mentioned her opportunity and her scholarship. So, okay, let me jump right to it, right? While we're talking about clubs, and it's quite hunky-dory when you're actually on campus, it's so much easier to execute the functioning of a club, one would think. But now we're in the COVID world and everything is online. How has your experience with student life and all these activities changed? And how do you execute things online, not just in terms of your clubs, but also academically? And I think I'd like to first hear from Gopika, and then I'd like to go on to Satvika. Yeah, go ahead, Gopika.
So I think in the beginning when online classes started, it took a little bit of time to get started on club activity, because we all had to plan. So I think most of the clubs are very active. For instance, the dance club, they put out videos on Instagram after they choreograph something. The recreation club, well, my friend and I were the reps last year. We used to conduct online games, Pictionary, or we used to have like a series of game nights to conduct. So most of these, we keep in mind that people are loaded with academic work. So it usually happens over the weekend or like at night when people have to relax. So I think now that it's been a while since we started doing online work, I think like the club acts have stepped up a major way. Like there are debates, like someone mentioned, there's like a Shark Tank event happening tonight and all that. So I think club activities, it's a very different form, but it's still going on.
All right. Yes, Satvika.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about online learning and how education is taking place digitally, because there are also a few questions on that. So in terms of digital learning, our professors have adapted our curriculum to an online module in a very, very beautiful way. We're able to study our courses online. There's different asynchronous and synchronous activities that allow for engagement. And additionally, I think I would just like to, throw some light on the fact that not only have our professors adapted the teaching in terms of the curriculum, but also in terms of the whole environment here at CREA, keeping in light the situation that we're in with the whole pandemic. So our professors are extremely sweet and extremely supportive, very welcoming. They're always welcoming, but now with the situation that we're in, all the more so. Every class pretty much begins with a check-in on our mental and emotional well-being. They ask us how we're doing, at least all of my classes. And, they ask us if we're able to handle the work pressure. A lot of our assignments were cut down, especially with the second wave, because some of us were just not able to manage. Some of our assignments were cut down, and we're able to approach the professors at any time and say, I'm not able to do this. At one point, because as I'm studying literature, there's a lot of writing that I have to do. And at one point, I was just saturated completely, and I just reached out to my professor and I said, I'm not able to write, like I'm not getting the words to write. And she was so sweet. She said, that's completely okay. Just write whenever you can, don't force yourself. So our professors are very understanding, and in keeping in when we're talking about the adaptation to an online model, I think this form of adaptation also, keeping in mind why we've had to make this shift in the first place, is extremely important, and it is something that our faculty is doing so well, and they're giving us a little bit of stability in an otherwise very uncertain world, which is really, really appreciated by the entire student community.
Just to add on to what Satvika said, at least with the bio faculty, they're aware that it's very hard to concentrate in class and that it's very easy to zone out and like look at your phone. So apart from class hours, they let us they conduct asynchronous activities outside class. So even if you don't attend class, where they've not made attendance compulsory, you'll still be able to grasp the concept by doing the async activities, because they're aware that at this point in time it's very hard to sit through class.
Yeah. So while you were mentioning about the online classes challenges, what kind of changes do you anticipate in the post-COVID world in regards to the career paths that you have already chosen? Any major changes in your choice of domain that might have affected or changed your career plans altogether? Would you like to just share your thoughts on that, maybe?
I can go ahead. So I came into Kriya with the mindset I might want to do a master's in neuroscience, but then seeing how the pandemic has affected the world and everything, and after having the option to explore different domains in bio, like by talking to the professors about the content they've covered, I feel like I'm leaning more towards infectious diseases, epidemiology, and pathology, because I feel like now with the post-COVID world, a lot's going to change regarding that aspect and the environment. So I think that's one major thing I see changing in my interests as well.
For anyone else, where you think that it's going to really impact what you had chosen earlier?
For me, if anything, it's strengthened my decision, because I was always passionate about mental health, and that's what led me to psychology in the first place. But being surrounded by the kind of stress and anxiety and grief that most of us are experiencing, unfortunately, it's made mental health come to the forefront as such an important field, and it's a necessity more than a choice or something that somebody can just choose to indulge in. And the fact is that this necessity is unavailable to so many across the country and even globally. And this treatment gap that exists between the need and availability of mental health care facilities was something that bothered me in general. But now with the pandemic and seeing, how some forms of therapy are expensive and just people are not able to afford it or access it, has made me even more determined in my mission to make mental health care accessible to everyone. And I look forward to working passionately on this goal of mine.
Absolutely, and I think Satvika, you've spoken about something, and it would be so amiss to not address this in the world that we live in. The dire need for mental health professionals in the world, and it's very heartening to see the amount of interest that we see in psychology. And we hope that the world sees many more, especially India, sees many more mental health professionals emerging. And kudos to you for that thought. And there are some very interesting and some funny questions that are coming in, like, do you cut frogs for biology? So I'm just going to leave you all to answer that on chat. That's funny, but yeah, I think one other interesting question is, what are you most proud of at Kriya? And while this is not a Kriya specific session, but I have to tell all of you who are attending the session, right, that these students are sharing their own experience of liberal education, and they study at Kriya. So it is very, very aligned to their experience at Kriya. And that is why Kriya comes into the conversation again and again. But yeah, if someone's asking, what are you most proud of at this university? I'd just like you all to sort of maybe think of one word that comes to your mind when you think of Kriya? What's that one word or one emotion that it evokes in you, at the cost of sounding jingoistic? But yeah, go for it.
Diversity.
Diversity. Yeah, Akshat?
I think originality.
Right? Smriti?
I think it's the support system.
Satvika?
Inclusivity.
Gopika, think fast.
Freedom, because you get to explore and everything. Yeah.
Diversity, originality, inclusivity, support system, and freedom. I think I don't think we could have summed it up better. That's beautiful, and I think we all agree that's what we really stand for. That's a core ethos. There's also a few other questions around. I'm a germaphobe, and I'm concerned about sharing bathrooms and small rooms with others. Is there any provision? Now, the struggle is real. You know, when students are at home in school, and you've all been there, you had your own rooms and your own bathrooms, and then when you come to college, you suddenly have to share with someone else that you've never met before. It's a good time to touch upon the process of how does the university sort of allocate a room buddy, and what is that experience?
Could I
Yeah.
take this one?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm saying this because me and my roommate get along extremely well, and I feel like I owe her this answer. So at Kriya, what happens is that before you enroll, I mean after you enroll, but before you're allocated your room and your roommate, you are made to fill out a small form where you talk about what kind of person you are to live with, essentially. Whether you sleep late, whether you sleep early, whether you're neat, tidy, messy, loud, what kind of music you listen to. So it's like a whole extensive questionnaire, and there's no right or wrong answer. Please don't shy away from saying that you sleep at 5 a.m. if you do, because you will be matched with a roommate who is very aligned to your interests. I said that I love plants and animals, and as a result, our room is full of plants, not animals, but a lot of plants, because my roommate is an environmental science major. So, so that way, the person that you will end up as a roommate with will most likely be somebody that you're very compatible with. So if you are somebody who is very clean, your roommate will also most likely be someone who's very clean. However, if you are a germaphobe and it's just not possible for you to live with someone else, you can definitely write to the Office of Student Life and speak to them and inquire what the procedures are. And you can discuss it with them. There's no rigid, it's not that you'll have to be forced to do something if you're not comfortable doing it. Your boundaries will be respected.
Connected to that, right? If any of you want to jump in, yeah, go ahead, Smriti. I mean, your experience of transitioning from being at home to sort of a college life. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a very opposite experience than what Satvika had with roommates. Sometimes what happens is that you won't have the same compatibility. You do get along, but your interests are not always the same. And I have big problems like OCD. I have to be very organized. Things have to be this little dust. I just get panic. I just start panicking. And I understand if you're a germaphobe, you want things to be clean, spick and span. But one thing that's beautiful about sharing a room is that you need to learn to accommodate the other person's problems, their issues also, because sometimes a person just in general likes to be messy, because I have friends who feel that being messy, they can remember where things are, and I can't stop them from being messy because of my own personal problems. But yes, you can always talk to them and approach them and tell them that I have this problem, let's just come on a compromise. So you need to compromise at some point. And I feel that even if you don't end up with the same compatibility level, like, you don't have the allied interests, you will somehow manage, because, after a point, you realize that, in the end, you both have to stay in the same room. You'll have to, the word soda, that, it has to be there. If you can't do it, then there's no point, because, you can't be cribbing all the time saying that, my roommate is this, my roommate is that, you can't keep saying that, you can't keep whining, and then everyone will just question. And I did have like issues, but then, you compromise, and after one point, it just becomes okay. So I feel that that experience also, you learn a lot. And whether that person, and if you are very, a neat freak, then okay, just go and help that person, clean that person's side of the room and, make it neat. So just take the person's permission though before you start, cleaning their side of things. But, it's always good to, help the other person. If you can't, live with a person who's messy, just clean their things up. It's as simple as that. So I think that's just like from a personal experience.
Absolutely. And I think, while I was in college many years ago, and I will not say how many years ago, but I was in college many years ago, and I had the same experience of sharing a room with a roommate that I had never met before. And I can tell you that this experience is as important as your academics and as your extracurriculars, because it is these experiences that shape you. Whether you like your roommate, you don't like your roommate, the whole idea is you learn to adjust eventually, because as much as if you don't like them, they don't like you either, right? So it's not like it's just you. There's some very interesting there are other interesting questions around. I think this question comes to us quite often at Kriya, because the general tag given to liberal education universities is that we are the hotbed of political activity, and all of that. But I don't want to weigh in on this at all. I want all of you to weigh in on the fact that, someone's asking, is Kriya very prominently political and aligned to one particular view? So this is something that I think one of you, if you could answer, it would be really, yeah, Pranish, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a question which is almost asked by, for a lot of students who reach out to us also ask this question, right? But one thing I can be very assured of, like what I experienced at Kriya, is that we do have this political talks. I think the real world is not isolated from college campus. Just studying economics won't make me an economist if I don't know what is politics. But we don't go one-sided, right? We believe in facts, we believe in evidence, and we go by data. That's what Kriya has taught us. From data analytics, one of the core courses we have is data analytics, where we look and understand how data works and how policy is created in related to data. So whatever we speak with an evidence. And also we are always in a discussion, it will be a both sides that is presented. There won't be just one side which we are looking at and we finalizing the thing. When we have a debate, it will be always two-sided, and at least we have someone to represent or speak from the other part too. So I can assure you that there won't be a one-sided conversation, but like most probably the conversation we have will be data or evidence-based.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, whoever it is, anonymous participant. There's also questions. The good thing is we have another 10, 12 minutes to go. So a couple of questions around student life. There are a lot of questions around student life. And I think this is important to take up. So we've talked a lot about what we like about Kriya, what we like about Kriya. Kriya is fantastic. Is there anything that you don't like about a rule, or about, something that you have to put up with as a student on campus, perhaps certain policies? Feel free to talk about that.
I think
Yes, Akshat.
a drawback of the university, at least for me, I feel it's the location. It is a little isolated, and it's about, I think, 2 hours away from proper Chennai. So sometimes it's sort of, while the university campus is extremely academically stimulating and there's a lot to do, there are often times when you just want to get out, and you probably want to have that option to maybe just get out of the campus doors and have a coffee, or to go for a meal or something on those lines, which you don't have. So I think that's the only sort of drawback, but with time you get used to it. So that's all I'd like to say. Besides that, I am extremely grateful to be a part of this cohort and to be affiliated with this university.
So thank you for the cushioning at the end and the soft padding of your feedback. I just want to weigh in on that there are a few restaurants and cafes that are coming up in Sri City. And since you guys have not been back for a while, that is happening. And I think that's also the case with a lot of universities right now that are located outside of city limits. That they don't really have too much civilization around, which is why they need to be self-contained in themselves. And that brings me to a very pertinent question, probably will make it one of our last two questions, is the aspect of safety. How safe, what are the safety measures on campus, and how safe do you feel on campus?
We can take the question. So I think in the me being especially in campus right now at the pandemic situation, I can assure you that I am in utmost safety, and I do believe that more than my home, I am in a very safe place. So we have 24/7 doctor, nurse. So since it's a COVID pandemic, we are being like temperature checked, and we are oxygen level checking is happening at campus. And we have a tie-up with Kaveri Hospital, and Kaveri Hospital has a small branch. It is working in Sri City too. So if we have a 24/7 ambulance, and the ambulance driver is also available. So the thing here is like we have a doctor who we can approach anytime. And if the issue, if you want to go to a specialized doctor, we have an ambulance where we can reach to the SIMS in the Sri City, or we can also go to the other system. I think which is more safe is we might not have money all the time, right? So I'll come back to this point. One thing I didn't like at Kriya first place was at case of emergency, there was not a mechanism where the university pays for us and we later gave it. But when we were in the student government, we advocated it for it. And I think the administration is so understandable that when we put across this point, they agree to it. Now we have a system where the ambulance driver has some money with him. When some emergency happens, they pay for us. And if it's and it depends on the student, right? They will deal with the situation later. But on the time of emergency, we have an utmost safety that is in campus. And we have people who are very experts in fire. We have a fire tech team, and there is fire exit. And the campus is being 2 days before we had a fire exit trial. So the captain in campus tested whether we are able to go and save our lives soon. So they are being changing and adapting to the situation very soon. If let's say for the COVID too, and I think it's very safe here more than any place. I think.
All right. Last question, as I had promised, and it's so hard to pick from the questions that are coming because there are so many. But I mean, technically, we do have 15 minutes to go, and we have a loyal attendance of 61 students who are sitting there and waiting with bated breath to hear from you. But the burning question is, guys, how is the food on campus? How is the food on campus? Can you live with the food on campus? I have personally eaten the food on campus and I love it, but that's me. But yeah, I mean, go for it.
We have a food. So the food is designed by the students. It's not the faculty or the administration imposing for us. We decide what food we want to eat. And I can assure you that whether what part of India you are coming from, we have all the diversity represented in the food we eat. And the thing is, it's not like I have tried a lot of North Indian food after coming to campus, and I just love North Indian more than South Indian. So I think that's the beauty of campus. And also we have a system where we can complain about the food if we have any problem directly to the person, or through student government, or directly to the administration head, which is captain administration. So the system is very flexible here. I don't think there is a problem with food as such, because we have that flexibility and approachability from the administration.
So yeah, just to add on to Pranesh, the way that the food works is there's a fixed menu for a fixed amount of time, and every week for that particular day, you'll have the same dish or the same meal. So like every Monday for a fixed period of time will be the same menu, and that's it gives you some routine, and it's a very homely aspect. You say, okay, today is Monday, today's paneer, let's go eat. So there's that sense of routine that gets established. But however, if you do want a break from the routine, which is very understandable, we've all been there, we do have vendors within our food, within our mess itself, and they have a range of food, including Chinese and even pizzas and things like that. So if you really, really want to step out of the college menu and have something that's a little more aligned to your own taste, which is not necessarily home type food, then you can definitely order, and the food there is very reasonably priced as well.
Awesome. And I think it's a very fair question, right? I mean, food is a real consideration when you're going into hostel. So it's fair for students to be concerned, because there's a whole conception around hostel food is, bad food. But yeah, I've personally tasted the food and I think it's phenomenal, and I'm very picky about food. With that, I come to the last segment. I want to hear, we usually in panel discussions ask academics and industrialists to give their last parting shot and words of wisdom to the attendees. And I think it is so important to hear that from you, from all of you, because what you're doing and the journey that you're on right now, it's commendable. The kind of achievements that you have under your hat, and the sheer hard work and just how difficult this time is for all of you as students is really, I mean, the way you're getting through it is commendable. We're very proud of all of you. We just want to hear from you. If you have any parting shot or any words of wisdom for some of the students or parents who are attending this session and you want to say something to them. So yeah, whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
I think I saw a lot of questions regarding, the admission process, and I could sense some nerves over there. So all I'd like to say is be yourself and just be true to who you are. And if you should be here, you'd be here. So don't worry about prepping for like a quant test or like a reflective essay or anything of those sorts. CREA doesn't look at that. We have like a host of parameters that we check. So if you are going to be there, you got to be yourself, and like there's no reason to like sweat.
I think that's very wise advice, and we get those questions all the time. So that's great advice. Yes, Satvika, go ahead.
I also saw a few questions about the environment at CREA, the students and the faculty. And I just wanted to say it's one of my favorite parts of CREA, both how approachable the faculty are, as well as how warm and lovely everyone is as a student community. I mean, there really isn't a sense of, oh, we can't talk to this person. There's nothing like that. Everybody, we all come in from such diverse parts of the country. But your friend group will end up being a bunch of people from all over the place. Or even if you're not, even if not as a part of your friend group, and you're working with people in projects and group projects and things like that, there's a lot of fun to be had. There's never a sense of alienation or having to worry about the peers that you're with. At least that's been my experience at CREA. And in terms of faculty, they're extremely approachable. I know I said this before, but I'm saying it again, not just in times of COVID and the pandemic, which hopefully we'll never have to deal with again, but even in general, if you want to just talk to them about anything, you can really approach them. You will be assigned a faculty mentor as soon as you join CREA, and your mentor is sort of your go-to person if you want any advice, if you want to talk about your career forward, if you want to be put in touch with other members of faculty, or you can directly approach members of faculty and speak to them. Most of them have open office hours, or you can fix up an appointment and speak to them. So please don't worry about the crowd and the community. As a community, we're all very close knit, and everybody is sort of one big family, and it's one of my favorite parts at CREA, honestly. So yeah.
Yes, Pranesh.
So for me, 3 years before, I was working in a bus as a cleaner. I was studying in a government school, and I never thought that I would end up in CREA. And for me, CREA came like a magic. I think magic does happen in life, and I think one of those magic is this, and me getting a lot of opportunities, getting to lead. Even this session, I think, is a great opportunity for me. And I'm extremely thankful for that. And I think whatever life gives us is the best. And I think miracles will happen for all of us at some point of time. Like this too shall pass away, and we all will have some great time in our lives.
That's wonderful, Pranesh. Very, very inspiring. Go ahead, Gopika, go ahead.
Smriti, do you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead. I have
No, I was seeing a bunch of things on the Q&A box about if you need 75% to get in, and having done a lot of other outreach events with Kriya, I've heard this question a lot, and I can assure you that that's not the case. You don't need a 90% or 100% to apply to Kriya. They're not judging you based on your academic performance. There's a lot more that they will judge you on, not just that. So you will be all set. There's nothing to worry about.
Thanks, Gopika. Yeah, go ahead, Smriti.
I came, so before I joined college, I came from a naval background. I was very closed off. So coming from a naval area, you're very closed off, and just have this small little society you're part of, same group of friends. And I personally was very deterred by the very aspect of, diverse people coming in. Because I have seen people from diverse cultural backgrounds, but it's Navy, so, you have very similar interests. But, when I joined Kriya, I was really scared that will I find my friends group? That's one thing that, you're always worried about. Will you find your peers? Will you find that friend group? And I think infinity%, even though that doesn't exist, I can guarantee you will find a group, and you'll find multiple groups that, you will have fun with. And don't let anything about college life or how college will be, don't think about the future and, let that deter you from, experiencing college life the way it is supposed to be experienced every day. Just take it by the day and, just let it go, because, each day has to be savored. Because I realized that, I savored each and every single day I spent with my friends, with the faculty. And I really enjoyed it, because now I can look back, because back at home, I am able to, reflect on the fun I had with my friends back on campus, the discussions I had with, the faculty members. And it's not academic talks I had with faculty members, it's just general talk with faculty members for fun. So I feel that, don't let anything deter you and just take it by the day. So that's just my parting thoughts.
Absolutely. Satvika has been busy answering some questions. Satvika, well done. Akshat, well done. All of you, thank you so much. It's Saturday night. We can possibly not keep you back for any longer. Thank you so much for the time that you have spent here. We're very, very proud of you. Once again, I want to tell you that we're very proud of you, and very happy to have you as part of the Kriya family. And thank you for your hard work this evening. To all the people who've been attending this session, and there are so many of you, like I said, who've been with us since 9:30 in the morning. And we know those names who've been with us through the day, through all the panels. It's phenomenal. Thank you for your interest, and we hope to see you at Kriya, and all the best for your journey to Kriya. Thank you, students. And oh, just 1 second, we wanted to take a group picture with the outreach team and all of you on camera. So Chirantan, if you can switch on your camera, and we can have Rachna and Nirmal join in, because this is going on social media, guys. So you gotta have a picture. Chirantan is here. Yes.
I think both of them would take some time, because I think
they're going to log off, and they'll come back.
Also, Bhakti, if we could announce about our panel discussions on 15th, please.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, sorry. So 15th is the day 2 of career dialogues. And today we covered economics, environmental sciences, psychology, and sciences. And next week we are covering history and politics, social studies. And what are the other 2 subjects?
AI and data.
AI and data sciences, com sciences, and there's one more.
Global relations.
No.
Social studies.
Social studies, yeah. So we're covering 4 other subjects on the 15th. So feel free to join us next week. It's going to be as exciting, the panels. And we'll see you then on the 15th of May at 9:30 a.m. We have some phenomenal keynote speakers lined up, etc. All right, Chirantan,
just wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
From those subjects, we would have another group of students who will be with us around 6:30 again in the evening. So please do join us for that as well.
Yep. All right, Chirantan, Rachna, our official photographers, if you please do the honors, and everyone, big smile, say cheese.